Once upon a time, in a kingdom far away, there lived a kind and just king and queen, who ruled over their people with fairness and compassion. The king and queen had 2 children, a brave and adventurous prince and a gentle and kind princess. The kingdom was prosperous, and the people were happy. However, hidden in the shadows, there was a slave who had been sold into servitude at a young age and had grown up in poverty and hardship. The slave worked hard, but despite their efforts, they could never rise above their station. They longed for freedom and dreamed of a life of their own, where they could make their own choices and be the master of their own fate. One day, the slave decided to take matters into their own hands and escape from their bondage. They managed to flee the kingdom and eventually found themselves in a neighboring land. In the new kingdom, the slave found work as a blacksmith's apprentice. With hard work and dedication, the slave became a skilled craftsman and earned the respect of their master and fellow apprentices. The slave's new life was filled with purpose and meaning, and they were happy for the first time in their life. Years passed, and one day, the slave heard news of the kingdom they had left behind. The king and queen had grown old, and their children had taken over the throne. The prince had become a tyrant, ruling with an iron fist, and the princess had become spoiled and selfish, caring only for herself and her own pleasures. The slave knew that they could not sit idly by and watch as the kingdom they had once called home fell into darkness. They decided to return to the kingdom and offer their help to the people. The slave arrived in the kingdom disguised as a commoner and began to work as a blacksmith once again. Over time, the slave became known for their skill and their kind heart. They helped those in need and worked tirelessly to make the kingdom a better place. The people began to talk of a mysterious stranger who had arrived in their midst, a person who was selfless and brave, and who always put the needs of others before their own. One day, the king and queen heard of the stranger and decided to invite them to the palace to thank them for their service. The slave arrived at the palace, still disguised as a commoner, and was surprised to find that the king and queen were none other than the same rulers they had served under as a slave all those years ago. The king and queen were overjoyed to see the slave again and asked them to reveal their true identity. The slave took off their disguise and told the king and queen of their journey and their newfound purpose in life. The king and queen were moved by the slave's story and realized that they had not treated their subjects as well as they should have. They apologized to the slave and asked for their forgiveness. The slave forgave the king and queen and reminded them that it was never too late to change and make amends. The king and queen took the slave's words to heart and began to rule with greater kindness and compassion. The prince and princess saw the change in their parents and realized that they had been wrong in their ways. They asked for forgiveness and promised to be better rulers in the future. In the end, the kingdom prospered once again, and the people were happy. The slave had shown that no matter how difficult life may seem, there is always a chance for redemption and a chance to make a positive impact on the world. The moral of the story is that it is never too late to change and to make amends for past mistakes. We should always strive to be kind, compassionate, and selfless, and to treat others with respect and dignity, no matter their state.